Hello and welcome back, everybody. SF Live, episode 221. It is Wednesday. I just had to double check my calendar. I've been out of the office for a bit, traveling. Just came back from Mexico last night, and I'm joined here in a few short seconds by David D'Onofrio. He's the CEO of White Gold, and we're going to catch up on what they've been up to in the Yukon. They just made a big discovery, in my opinion, or they announced a big discovery about a week ago. Definitely going to get some details on that from David as well. But also, they've drilled a number of other targets in the area. There's lots happening in the Yukon. The gold rush seems to continue even in 2021, so I'm quite excited to catch up with them. Before I switch over to my guest, though, as always, be reminded to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a like as well, and share it with your friends. That's really important as well to get the word out about your stock as well that you'd like to follow. I think I've covered it all the intro points like we always do. Yeah, feel a bit rusty. I haven't done this. I haven't done a live interview in a couple of weeks. We had the Deutsche Goldmesse as well. So let me switch over to my guest and let me make sure that you're unmuted, David. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us, and welcome back on the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Lots of great stuff going on. Glad to be able to give you an update and your viewership as well.
Yeah, no, great timing. Summer's always busy in the Yukon, and the fall is when the results come out, so we get to catch up on that. Thanks for coming on. I said that before, but I might be repeating myself. But give us an overview quickly how the summer went at White Gold, and then we're going to talk about the big discovery announced last week and more details. So
I would love to talk about it. It's actually been a phenomenal season this year. We were able to get on site and working with our plan, and we're able to carry out our entire plan as we'd hope, and actually even do a little bit more work. Obviously, in this day and age, there's a lot of unknowns with COVID, but we were, touch wood, very fortunate. We had our whole team deployed. We had a very exciting program lined up. We executed on everything we were hoping to do, and a little bit more. And we're now, as you mentioned, kind of into the news flow phase of the year, and what we put out so far has been really exciting in my view on a number of fronts, and excited to get into more detail on that. Highlighted recently by this Betty discovery, which is as you know, probably one of the top drill holes in Canada, and certainly one of the top drill holes ever in the Yukon. And maybe talk a little bit about what else is people can look forward to as the results continue to come out for the rest of the year.
yeah, exactly. Let's frame it a little bit before we dive into the details. But let's talk about the season in the Yukon. When did you guys start working, and how many meters? Like, what did the exploration program in general look like this year?
So, as you know, we have White Gold's a very unique company, as you may recall, right? We have projects we divide them into three different categories. We have our advanced projects, which are defined mineral resources. Right now, that we have sort of three projects which fit into that bucket, and that's our Golden Saddle, ARC, and VG deposit. That's our flagship, value driver, I think, or at least value pin, you could say. And we've over the last 3 years have been able to successfully grow that from about 1 million ounces to a total of about 1,000,008 ounces now across all categories, with 1 million of that, just over 1 million of that, indicated open pit 3-gram type material. So a very robust deposit. And to be able to sort of have something like that in our portfolio in a great jurisdiction like the Yukon is, we're pretty privileged to be able to have that as what you want to call a junior exploration company. And so about a third of our program was focused on increasing resources in that area, but not in sort of conservative delineation type drilling. Our focus in the last 2 seasons has been on showing the prospectivity of the ability to build significant resources there. And what we've done in that regard is target new zones in a very close proximity to the flagship deposit themselves. And when I say close, we're talking about a radius of 2 or 3 kilometers. And we've been extremely successful in that regard. We made a discovery 2 kilometers to the west on our Ryan Surprise target a few years ago. And that sits on a very underexplored 6.5 kilometer trend. So we've gone back and did a couple thousand meters of diamond drilling on that this year. We put out some of those results, which maybe we'll touch on in a bit. And really sort of we're very successful in showing, defining a large footprint there in all directions, which continues to remain open. So that was sort of one focus area. The next sort of area is what we call our discovery stage work, where we've had targets, which they've been worked up through our protocol. We've touched on in the past. Sean Ryan's developed a very unique and successful data-driven protocol, which starts with the soil sampling because there's not a lot of outcrop there, followed by bedrock surface sampling. We've done a tremendous amount of geophysical and structural analysis over the last couple of years, and to work these targets up to the drilling phase, right? And I think that's the most exciting part of this business, why we're all in it. And we had about a third of our program focused on that. The Betty's part of it, plus another target, the Yuli's Ridge, which actually is just south of the Ryan's Surprise. So we focused about a third of our program on that. And so far from what we've seen, it's been tremendously successful. And then the third is our greenfield exploration, where we do have this massive land package. It's over 400,000 hectares, 1 million acres, where we are just continuing to identify these mineralized systems. The majority of that type of work is soil sampling and structural work. And we've worked up a couple of very interesting projects there, which will be ready for drilling in the coming season.
Fantastic. Yeah, let's save the best for last. Let's string our viewers along a bit before we talk about Betty. You mentioned Ryan's Surprise, and you mentioned also like the discovery stage project, the advanced stage projects. You put decent results out of Ryan's Surprise as well.
No, Ryan's Surprise has been phenomenal. If you look at the last 2 seasons, we've continued to intercept very high grade gold. I think the highlight in the last couple of years was 20 gram type material. We're hitting sort of 10 plus grams in multiple holes, large intersections. In addition to that, there's been sort of very broad 20, 30, 40 meter type intersections of gram plus material. So really starting to see a resource footprint come together. Obviously the bonus there is that it's so close to our existing deposit, right? And when you're looking at economics, the best place to find gold is near existing gold. And this would certainly be part of that project. And I think it's really been a great way to demonstrate the continued upside of our resource profile. So this one target now has been defined, it has a footprint that's been defined by 400 meters long, 400 meters wide, and to a depth of 450 meters. This is a very large footprint. This year's drilling was, very aggressive, like big 100-meter type step outs, and we continue to hit the same ore zones and new ore zones. You can probably see on our website, we've done a little bit of preliminary 3D modeling, and it's really looking to come together. And our view is that this looks like it could be a robust economic zone, which will be complementary to our existing deposit. So we're thrilled by that. That's exactly what we were hoping to find, and we did find that.
Yeah. Maybe I can jump in here as well. Like, what are some of the steps you have to take to upgrade Ryan's Surprise and then to the advanced stage model? Does it have to have a resource on it?
Yeah, so that would be kind of a next stage. So that just takes more drilling, right? So I think in the next coming year, we probably maybe step back, do a little bit of infill drilling just to increase the continuity of the drilling, but it remains open in all these different directions. So we're going to want to continue to chase it along strike and down dip. So that's I think that could be a significant addition to what's already significant in our eyes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about like future plans and also what's in the books for 2020, 2022 already. Jeez, time's flying. But like what other plans? Like we're going to talk cap structure in a second and cash as well. But we got to talk Betty now, real quick. And Betty for target.
The Betty is phenomenal, and why I'm but just before we touch on the Betty, because this is all tied together. We also announced another discovery on our Yuli Ridge target. So if you recall, we do this rotary air blast drilling as a precursor to diamond drilling. So the Yuli's Ridge target, it's directly south of the Ryan's Surprise. We did a first ever RAB program on it, and which we announced those results, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we again hit some very similar high grade material, some broad intersections of good grade material. And that looks like it could either be another Ryan's Surprise like zone, again, very, very close to the Golden Saddle. And because of how close it is to the Ryan's Surprise, it actually, could be connected to the Ryan's Surprise. So we might have really tapped into something major along that trend. And if you look at the soil footprint there, it really shouldn't be a surprise. This is something Sean Ryan's take over 15 years ago. He saw kind of all the pieces come together. So we've actually also done some diamond drilling on that target as well, which, that was right sort of towards the end of the season. And we're very excited for those results to come out as well, because I think we're onto something special there. We got a tiger by the tail.
Oh, now I got a follow up question before we actually get to Betty. Now, how are you planning now to follow up on that potential like connection there? Is like, are you going to do some more RAB drilling first, or what's the follow up going to look like?
Yeah, so we're now in the phase of receiving data, interpreting it. Our planning phase is that's what's going to start happening throughout the winter and the spring. I think if I had to speculate, it would be a mix of RAB and diamond drilling. What I like about the RAB is obviously it's very efficient, very cost effective. And also we can get out there earlier because it doesn't need water like the diamond drilling. So we can get out there sort of, March, April type time frame and get ahead of, the season and start to see how this all ties together. And, what's been driving a lot of, sometimes when you do the RAB drilling, you're looking for other indicator elements like arsenic or whatever else. So you can start to identify these gold zones early on, which will help us then plan for our diamond drilling program to be as, optimized efficiency there.
Yeah, no, that's quite exciting actually. So 2022 should have a couple surprises in stock then as well. That's fantastic. We've got to keep some of your arrows in your back pocket there as well. Betty, let's talk about it. We've been waiting for it. You hinted at it. One of the best drill holes in Canada probably this year. 50 meters of 3.46 grams of gold. Definitely the best hole in the Yukon from what I've heard so far on the gold side. With 48 meters also of 1.17, starting at 33 meters.
Yeah, this is the what I feel is kind of the whole sort of case study of what white gold is, why we got in, what we're so excited about. Here we are, we're 15 kilometers from the 20 million ounce Casino porphyry deposit. We're contiguous to Newmont's Coffee project, right along strike, right along the same crack. We have these big soil anomalies in elephant country, and nobody we're in 2021 and no one's put a drill in these things yet, right? Like, I don't think you could, as a resource exploration company, ask for a better set of circumstances from a probability type perspective. Sean says this was his favorite project when we put White Gold together, but he's very pragmatic. He wanted to put a drill on it when it was ready to be drilled. And here we are this year. We're finally able to do that. There's 5 targets on the Betty. We picked 2 of them to drill this year. There's the other 3 I think are equally as exciting and prospective. And with our first couple diamond drill holes ever, to be able to tag a massive high grade zone like that, basically at surface, is exceeded our wildest expectation. So we're thrilled, right? And I think you look at the probabilities and historic occurrences. Drill results like that are usually surrounded by economic grade type ore, right? That those things don't happen in isolation. It's not like maybe a very high grade narrow vein type hit. This was a big broad zone of gold. It's an area of known large deposits. It's structurally controlled. It's there's a big breccia unit which we've identified. It remains open along strike in multiple directions. So this is a very, very exciting new discovery for us.
Yeah. And how many holes have you put out from this? Was that the whole package? You put 6 holes into it in total?
That's right. This target had the 6 holes into it. So, we tapped into 2. The other couple, listen, this was a cursory type review, sort of spread out over a 500 meter strike length. We learned a lot structurally as well with the work we've done there, and, through these other type holes. I think we have an idea of what the trace is looking like. And so, we are just chomping at the bit, interpreting all this data and getting ready to sort of go back out there to do more work on that. But also, to do some of the preliminary first ever diamond drilling on these other targets on our Betty property, right? And as I mentioned, so this is right along the same Coffee Creek fault system that hosted, Newmont's Coffee deposit. If you recall, that was originally discovered by Sean Ryan with Kaminak, bought by Gold Corp for $520 million. Along this fault structure, there's another fault that comes right up, the Dip Creek fault, and these targets are right around the intersection of these 2 faults. So that's kind of where you expect to find deposits. The target, our mascot target, which is right at the intersection of those 2 faults, that's the one we didn't get to. There's been a little bit of historic drilling done there 10 years ago by other operators. Those have, tapped into some very interesting results. Some 30-gram type material, broad intersections, 40 plus meters of 2+ grams. So a lot of interesting smoke there. And, this is, again, a very underexplored target. So there's, that could be a whole company on its own, right? And that's what White Gold is. White Gold, we are the combination of what was 10 companies back in 2010, right? And if you look at the market cap of what all those companies were back then, and you put it into our cap structure, you're looking at a, $5 plus stock. Unfortunately, it's a little bit of a different market and maybe a little confusing, but people need to understand that we own an entire district that's, has this prolific history of 20 million ounces of gold coming from the Placer Creeks. It's only been in the last 10 years that we've done any modern day exploration, and look what's already happened. You have the Golden Saddle, which is nearing 2 million ounces. You have the Coffee deposit, which I think Newmont thinks is, millions and millions and millions of ounces. And, they're very excited to do more work there. You got the casino, which is just a behemoth. Rio Tinto's, now recently invested in them, I think, to move that project forward. So this is an unbelievable place to be able to do work in this day and age.
Oh, for sure. Let's wrap up the exploration side of things, though. Like, how many holes are still left in the lab? Like, where do we stand on that?
We've probably released about half of our diamond holes so far this year. So we've done a little bit of other work on one of our targets around the Betty, and then we have this Yuli's Ridge program, which is more significant. We drilled about 7 or 8 holes for almost 1,000 meters there, just to follow up on those RAB holes that I mentioned before with the high grade.
Gotcha. Okay, so lots of news flow still pending.
This is typically our pattern, right? The news starts kind of towards the middle of the fall, and it's very busy right through into the winter.
Yeah. So you mentioned winter. What does the winter look like for you guys now? A lot of data analysis, I'm assuming, from the results. But
that's right.
No, so good. What are the next steps there? Yeah.
Getting the data in, interpreting it, modeling all this stuff up. We've been working with a phenomenal structural consultant lately in the last couple of years, and a lot of his input led to these new discoveries. We're going to sort of work with him to continue to refine our interpretation of what we have. And then also, plan for what's coming up in 2022, which I think will be, very similar in terms of approach. We have this, new sort of big zone we've tagged into right beside the Golden Saddle. That definitely warrants more work. I think we're at a point where we can define some significant resources there. Obviously, you have a major new discovery like the Betty. You want to do a lot of work around that. On that target, plus the other targets on the Betty. And then, we have our protocol, right? We're always working stuff up. This is, I think we have a pipeline like no other in terms of, with a property this big.
Yeah, I think I asked you that before, and we had a conversation about it, either an interview or during SF Online. Like, how do you describe your business? Like, and you mentioned to me, like, you're a prospect generator. Yeah, but right. in that regard, I'm always waiting for a joint venture announcement. So give me an update on where we stand on that and what that looks like.
You're absolutely right. So, that is our model, right? We really think we own a camp, right? It's in the early days of a camp. We think that if what transpires how we think it may, this is like owning, the majority of, say, the Timmins camp 100 years ago, or the Abitibi, or different places in Nevada, right? And over time, as these deposits get into production, there's going to be, continual need to sort of continue to feed these mills. And when, we basically have the district, and we think we're going to be able to sort of make these discoveries. We're literally scratching the surface. And Timmins are drilling 1,000 feet deep and still making discoveries. And here we are, starting our exploration with a soil auger. So that is the model. And I think now we're at a point, the company's been 5 years, where we're ready to start to look for monetization opportunities. Actually, we are, being approached by, a lot of different groups with different ideas. Because when you have, let's just take the Golden Saddle, ARC, and BG, for example, resources of that size and that tenure are few and far between, particularly in tier 1 jurisdictions like Canada. So obviously that is going to be getting a lot of attention by a lot of different groups, which it has. The gold mining industry, unfortunately, has been underinvested in exploration for a long time. All these companies need to increase their deposits, in their portfolios. The big guys, the smaller mid-tier companies, they don't want to be sort of 1 or 2 asset type companies. So they're looking to sort of for different alternatives. Being situated in a great place like Canada, in the Yukon, which has seen so much government support. There's the Resource Gateway project, which was announced a couple of years ago, with the government's funding hundreds of millions of dollars specifically for the advancement of mining and exploration. That's coming to fruition. I don't know if you saw recently, there was an announcement of one of the roads, or starting construction there. as that continues, this doesn't happen anywhere in the world, right? And as that continues, not only does I think it strengthen the confidence of the market that this is a great place to be investing, but it also re-rates the economics of the entire district. Right now, you find a 200,000 ounce, little ore body. Well, that's economic because as there's mills or heap leach operations, you truck it there, and there's economic value right away.
Fantastic. All right, David, let's wrap it up at this point. News flow, catalyst, real quick. Drill results, exploration results, potential joint venture agreements.
There's a lot of corporate opportunities. We're sort of that'll be right. I think after our interpretation phase, start to look what we have. Obviously, we've done what we can control, which is been successful in our exploration program right across the board. I don't think we could have asked for better type results, so we're thrilled on that. We need to continue to get out to the market and just sort of really articulate why this is such a unique and different opportunity. We're privileged to be in such a great jurisdiction, to have such a big landmass. You look at who our partners are, two major mining companies. They know what's going on. You have Newmont in the district. You now have Rio in the district, the largest mining company in the world. I think, from an investor's perspective, these are you can sort of piggyback on the knowledge base of these companies and why they're investing more and more into this area of the Yukon. And yes, definitely stay tuned. Lots of results to come. We're pretty excited by everything that's happened, and I think the prospect of this company, we've never been more excited about it than we are right now.
Fantastic. David, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for giving us this detailed update. I'm looking forward to definitely some more drill results from Willie's Ridge now as well. You got me all hyped up there and excited, so I'm looking forward to that.
Stay tuned. This is, we're just getting started here. We're literally scratching the surface of what I think is one of the great gold camps in Canada.
Fantastic. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for watching this SF Live episode 221 with David D'Onofrio, CEO of White Gold. Stay tuned for more, and make sure to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter as well. Don't forget to leave a comment or a like, and we'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more.